Hey everyone. In this video, I want to talk to you about something that is a rather unfortunate trend that I see playing out in today's world, where you have a lot of people on both sides of the aisle when it comes to each sex being very bitter towards the opposite sex. And this is incredibly stupid and incredibly unfortunate because it's going to lead to a lot of problems in the future. So what exactly am I talking about? Well, in the case of men, you have a lot of men becoming bitter towards women. And you can see this with movements like MGTOW, which is, well, it can be a good movement. It's good and bad. It can definitely be good if men follow the right, leaders in that movement. But if they follow the wrong ones, then they'll easily become bitter. And then in the case of women, you have a lot of women following the feminism movement, which, yet again, both good and bad. Neither of these movements are all bad or all good. There's a lot of nuance here. And one of the issues with feminism is that there's a radical side of it that makes women become bitter towards all men. But there's some common things here where quite often when either a man or a woman in these movements becomes incredibly bitter towards the opposite sex, it's because they're sexually frustrated and they're not able to attract anyone from the opposite sex. So rather than turning inwards and working on themselves, they lash out at the opposite sex and say, "Why do none of them choose me? If none of them will choose me, then all of them are bad." And it's not good. But even then, that's only one subset of the bitter people. There's also people who've just had bad experiences with the opposite sex, and they don't necessarily struggle to attract them per se, although some of them still will, but more so they've just had enough experiences in the negative direction that it makes them become bitter towards the opposite sex. For instance, getting cheated on, or for getting divorced, things like that, or where some men just get screwed by women and some women just get screwed by men. So it's unfortunate, but these trends are not good. I mean, occasionally some of my videos will be on topics somewhat relating to MGTOW concepts because I will often tell young men to work on themselves for themselves and not for women. But at the same time, I would never tell men to completely give up on trying to attract a beautiful woman into their life. And when I say beautiful there, I don't mean just her appearance. I mean appearance and personality. Because so many men act like the only thing women can bring to the table is her appearance. And that's bullshit. Women can be incredible companions. They can be incredibly fun to be around. They can create awesome experiences and memories with you. And not just ones in the bedroom either. It goes way beyond that. It's basically like you and her against the world, or even creating your own life together. And there's so many men out there who are just completely jaded on that concept because they've been screwed over by a few Western women usually, because more so, I should even kind of dig a bit deeper than that. They're not just Western women, they're usually women who live in big cities. This is often the category that makes men become kind of resistant towards entering relationships with women, because women in big cities do tend to have certain trends or certain aspects to their personalities that can make them difficult to be around. And I understand this completely. I live in Los Angeles. I am right smack dab in the middle of it, and I've experienced it my whole freaking life. And with online dating and social media, you just run into these problems where women from big cities usually will kind of have unreasonable standards and expectations. They'll believe they can get men who are way out of their league simply because they've had a few one-night stands with men who fall into those categories, but they fail to realize that those men only were with them for one night. They weren't ever going to commit to them. So the fact that they then base their standards on those men is really not good because they're going to struggle to attract men like that if they aren't on an equal level to them. So that's just one aspect of it, but then you also get a situation or issues with hypergamy and monkey branching. And for those of you who don't know, monkey branching is just basically where a woman will kind of wait until she finds a suitable replacement for her current partner, and then she'll, like a monkey, grab the new branch while still holding on to the old one and then let go of the old one onto the new one. So it's basically like how women will, while they're in a relationship with one guy, they'll be looking for the next best option. And then once they find him, they'll leave their current guy and go for that new guy. But yet again, not every woman does this. And I know I'm going to piss off a lot of the MGTOW guys for even saying that, because a lot of them like to think all women are the same. Bullshit. You can't say all men are the same, so why the hell would you say all women are the same? That's a ridiculous thing. But I get very heated over this stuff, because people just need to understand human psychology way more before they start buying into a lot of these concepts. I mean, as soon as you start labeling everything that falls into a certain category as bad, your logic is incredibly flawed and unsound. It's just stupid. It's like a 5-year-old getting pissed off at somebody for doing a specific thing to them, and then that's not a good example. It'd be more like a 5-year-old going to a candy shop and then something bad happens to them, so now they think all candy shops are bad. But no, it was just one instance in that one candy shop, and who knows if they're going to have a better experience trying a different candy shop out there. But yeah, so you have that issue with men categorizing all women, and then women do the same freaking thing. Because remember that example I went over earlier about how some women, and yes, some, it's not all of them, will assume that they can get better men than they actually reasonably can attract because of their experiences with one-night stands and that sort of thing. Well, they can also start to label all men as being bad because of the experiences they have with a few men. I mean, I've seen women who think that all men are cheaters because they keep perpetually attracting cheaters. They fail to realize that that's not a problem of all mankind. It's a problem with what they're willing to put up with and accept. If you're constantly attracting a specific type of man or woman into your life, you're probably the problem, not them. You're the one who keeps choosing them, right? So I think the problem really dwindles down to that. People not wanting to be accountable and responsible for their own lives and what's happening in them. Because I just see this so much. And I don't like arguing with people over it either, because it's so... You can't change people's minds once they start buying into this Kool-Aid, right? You can't. They're going to keep buying into it because they have all these insecurities that they're trying to protect, especially trying to protect not feeling bad about themselves. Because if you realize that you're the problem for a lot of things in your life, yeah, it can make you feel bad about yourself, and people don't want to feel that way, so they start coming up with all these other little things, these beliefs that they buy into, like thinking all women are bad because I've been rejected 50 times. It's like, well, what if you tried one more freaking time and you met a great woman? And even then, that's going to be a bad example, because the MGTOW guys are going to be like, oh, the odds of her being great aren't good. And it's just, it's ridiculous. It really is. It's something that kind of bums me out to see a bit. It makes me not necessarily lose faith in humanity, but it makes me know that the people who buy into these ridiculous ideologies are going to live less great of lives than they otherwise could. Because, believe me, I've had enough experience to be able to have evidence, not really evidence, that's not the right word, but I guess have ammunition, there we go. I've had enough experience to have ammunition to buy into those stupid ideologies that all women are bad. But I know that the bad experiences I've had aren't indicative of all womankind. They're just not. I've met plenty of great women, and I know that they're out there. So if I meet a few bad women, or women who have these unrealistic expectations or standards, so they see me and think that I'm not good enough for them, that's a different topic entirely. But even when that happens, I think, okay, this sucks, but it's an issue with this one woman in particular. And even if I meet 5 to 10 more of them like that, sometimes it's way more than that, I'll still think all these women, these 5 to 10 women or more, they're just not for me. And I'll understand that there'll still be hundreds, if not thousands, well, definitely thousands, maybe even millions of great women out there who would be perfect matches for me. Women who aren't going to cheat on me, women who aren't going to have those unrealistic expectations, women who aren't going to monkey branch for me, women who aren't going to be hypergamous. Yet again, that's going to be like a sacrilege thing to say to MGTOW guys, because they think all women are hypergamous. But come on, there are outliers in everything, and we just have to get away from this stupid logic of labeling a whole group as being bad simply because there are some bad eggs within it. That is so freaking dumb, and you see a lot of it in today's society. I mean, even politically, people can't handle people having different opinions to them, and the whole all cops are bad thing, and then like saying all Republicans are bad, all Democrats are stupid, whatever. There's so much of it out there, and it's just dumb. It's really stupid, but it just pains me to see it in the more relationship setting, because I know these people are signing up for unhappiness. Because let's face it, relationships are one of the biggest sources of fulfillment and happiness in our lives. We as human beings we're relationship animals. There's a better term for that. We're like, we thrive on relationships. We thrive together. Humans are not solitary creatures. If we were, we wouldn't have survived up until now. There were other forms or species of humans, should I say, back in caveman times, and they were all wiped out by Homo sapiens because Homo sapiens knew to band together. They had power in numbers, and there were groups of early humans who didn't do that, and they didn't last because of it. So we can't fool ourselves into thinking that we can get through life alone. It's not going to happen. And don't sign up for a life of unhappiness and loneliness and unfulfillment because you reject the opposite sex or whatever you're into. I don't want to leave out gays and lesbians or bi people either. So whatever you're into, don't fool yourself into believing that you can get through life without relationships. I mean, sure you could, but you're going to be unhappy, and you're going to be signing up for a lesser quality of life than you otherwise would have. So don't do that to yourself. Instead, think of each individual, or think of all these cases as individual ones. If you meet one bad woman, realize that she's bad, but she's not indicative of all women. And for all the ladies out there, if you meet one bad man, realize that he's not indicative of all mankind either. We just have to start being more logical here. And even if you encounter hundreds or thousands of bad people in the opposite sex, don't immediately start assuming that everyone who's a member of that sex is the same way. Just don't buy into this BS. It's so dumb. And I get, human psychology, there are certain trends that play out quite a lot, but there are still going to be outliers. I mean, I understand female psychology quite a lot, and yes, some of it does scare me for relationships. Believe me, I know that no matter how much I work on myself, there are still going to be some women who would cheat on me no matter what. Like, they don't have that loyalty within them. I get that. But at the same time, I understand that there are women out there who are loyal because they were raised right by both parents. They didn't have an absence of a father figure or their mother. They had both parents, and they were raised in a healthy manner. They're out there, and I get that a lot of them are difficult to find because they usually jump into relationships early on and they're loyal, so they stay in those relationships. I get that, but they're still out there. So this has been a bit of a rant, but this bitterness between the sexes is just so juvenile and stupid, and I don't like seeing it. It's unfortunate. It somewhat pains me, but that's not even the right word. I don't know. It's sad to see, I guess, because so many people are just signing up for not so great lives, and it's their own freaking fault because they just don't want to put themselves out there and understand that, there will be some bad eggs in both sexes, but it's worth taking that risk to find someone who you can tackle life with. And you don't even need to get married. I get that a lot of men are hesitant to marry. Even I am. I mean, being completely honest, I probably wouldn't even get married if I didn't want to have a family. But I want to have a family, and I understand because of that I probably do need to find a woman worth marrying. But look, go through life on your own terms. Just never make the mistake of completely cutting yourself off from the opposite sex just because you lump them all into one category. Just take things as a case-by-case basis and try to lose that bitterness. But anyway, I'm going to end the video here because it's getting way too long. But I truly hope you enjoyed this one. And if so, the easiest way you can help me out is just to like, comment, and share. Let me know your thoughts on this, and subscribe and follow if you aren't already. But anyway, bring on the comments. I'm going to end the video here. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci.